What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and of course, start of a new month, we're back again with another tier list video, the videos that everyone loves. So, before we get into it, of course, I have to say this pretty much at the start of every tier list now, because people seem to not understand this. This is my personal opinion, of course, and you can definitely have a differing opinion, and that's okay. Just from utilizing characters in the game, I do feel like these are my personal favorite or best legends in the game. I wouldn't say favorite, they're definitely just the legends that I think are the best ones, and this is good for potentially newer players in the game or people that don't have much information or much knowledge about the characters in the game. This would be a good place for you guys to start, obviously, to understand which characters you should be potentially re-rolling for, or the characters that you should be pulling on depending on what part they're boosted on a Sugo Fest. Always pull for the units that you want to get, or the ones that are the best units in the game are typically the best ones to go for, of course, obviously. So hopefully this can give you a little bit of a guideline as to which characters you should be looking out for. So obviously, first of all, we have a few criteria. We go by power, so how much damage the character can deal. We also have the speed of the characters as a captain, how fast are they at clearing content. Now that might not be important for some people, but for people like myself who are more endgame players, clearing content as fast as possible is a very big priority for us. We want to clear it as fast as possible so we can get more runs in, which is very important for stuff like treasure map, blitz battles, etc. Just stuff like that. Reliability, obviously, if a character is not reliable as a captain for clearing content, or even as a sub for clearing content, that's not going to be a good indicator of the character. How often are they going to be clearing stuff as a captain? Typically, everything that releases from here on out is able to clear like 99.9% of content in the game. You know, GARP challenges are hit or miss for a lot of teams because GARP challenges are just oddly specific and they're very difficult pieces of content. But as for like Training Forest, raids, Coliseums, Fortnights, it's just stuff like that. Pretty much every legend can clear everything in some fashion, pretty much. Especially when you can, you know, hybrid up with other captains, of course. And also how many usable units they have. So if a character is more, you know, versatile in terms of their team building, or as a sub or as a captain, that's also going to give them more points as well. Points, I say. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. So tier 3, no changes with tier 3. Well, actually there was a change. There was a character that was bumped up an additional tier, and we can explain why in a little bit as well. But as for tier 3, we have Corazon. No real big changes here. Still probably the best utility sub in the game. I mean, people would say Shirahoshi, but I would say Corazon is a better legend than Shirahoshi just because of the fact that all that utility that he provides is ridiculous. He has that amazing special ability on top of that where he can heal as well, and he has one of the best supports in the game, supporting Trafalgar Law. There are many Trafalgar Law units in the game that you can attach to, namely Luffy and Law. So Corazon, still one of the best subs in the game. Like, don't be upset if you pull him, because he is very, very good. It helps you clear a lot of content. V1 Law, I actually didn't really use him at all, I don't think, throughout the last month of content. So, I mean, he's still really good, though. Still really good to enable your other specials to bypass barriers. Now we've got Shirahoshi. Now, I actually want to talk about Shirahoshi a little bit. She actually did get kind of better throughout this month because of the release of Shanks and Ben Beckman. Now, for those of you who don't know what Shanks and Ben Beckman do, many of you guys already know what they do. But with Shanks and Ben Beckman, when you use their special, they empty out all your orbs, and after that you can't use any specials for the rest of that turn, and if you activate another special, you cannot use their special in that same turn. So essentially with Shanks and Ben Beckman, you can only use their special ability in that turn. The great thing about it is with Shirahoshi, she can provide rainbow orbs to your team. If you guys saw my Kizuna battle video that I uploaded yesterday, I did utilize this strategy as well. But the thing about Shirahoshi that is so good is she gives you those rainbow orbs with her special. And the cool thing about that is if you are able to carry that to the next turn, or next turn or next stage, you can use your Shanks and Ben Beckman special, and when you use their special, they cannot empty out rainbow orbs. So that means you'll get a full board of rainbow orbs, you'll also have your 3x color affinity, and you'll also have a 3x chain lock. So Shirahoshi does get better, actually, with this month's release of content because of the fact Shanks and Ben Beckman work really well with her. But outside of that, I mean, it's Shirahoshi, so she's still really good. Trafalgar Law, I mean, honestly, this law actually did get kind of a buff, I would say, because of Sabo and Koala. You know, with Sabo and Koala, they are their crew's own type booster. You still need an orb booster on your team, and this Trafalgar Law is a pretty good option, especially when you can partner other characters like V2 Ray Doflamingo, so you can extend that buff for like 3 turns, like a 3-turn 2.25 attack, 2.25 orb boost. That is pretty good, and that works really well with this character. But, I mean, outside of that, he's okay. He's okay. You don't really see much usage of him as a captain anymore. Lucci, not really much change with this month. There wasn't any shooter characters that actually got released, or technically there was. Magellan and Hannibal are technically shooters, and I guess that can kind of work, but then again, like, this Lucci is already a 2x color affinity booster for shooters, so you don't even need to run Magellan and Hannibal for these teams, but it is what it is. He's still actually a pretty decent captain. That cooldown reduction is no joke. 3.25 base, every time you hit a perfect, you get more attack. So, he's a good captain still, but shooters are nothing special, I would say. Then you got V2 Rayleigh, who's really good with Sabo and Koala still. Again, another orb booster for Sabo and Koala. They apply 3x Chainlock as well. This Rayleigh actually is really good for Sabo and Koala. So I guess as a sub, his usage will go up over the next, couple of months with Sabo and Koala's release. But outside of that, not so much. Then you got Tesoro, again, not really much change this month in terms of, his usability. He's still really good. I'm really waiting for his support ability. That's what I'm waiting for. His support ability is great. He attaches to, either of his batch characters, so Baccarat, Tanaka, Dice. I think he attaches to Karina as well. And then when you use their special, you get a 3x Chainlock. So that's pretty good. So that's what I'm really waiting for, is his support ability. Garp also usage goes up because of Sabo and Koala as well. Works really, really well. And I suppose even if you don't have Sabo and Koala, and you have to resort to like Luffy and Ace as your captain, you can still run this, and then with a friend Sabo and Koala, you can still do some really cool stuff with that. Legend Brook, obviously really good for the Kizuna on the Int variation, because I believe you can still do Zombie on that. I'm not really too sure about the other two colors with the Dex and the Psy variation, but for the Int variation, Brook is going to be a good captain for that. And then you got Jack, EXP captain, only a 3x base captain though, nothing special. His special isn't really that good either, in my personal opinion. But obviously you really want him because he's the EXP captain. But, he's still a 3x rainbow. That's still going to be able to click content. So, overall, not really much has changed. But the one change, when we move up to Tier 2, and Tier 2 change is the fact that we have added Kung Fu Luffy from Tier 3 up into Tier 2. Obviously, big shout out to Godot on the One Piece Treasure Cruise subreddit Discord, because he goes crazy with Kung Fu Luffy. Every time a new piece of content releases, he's clearing it with Kung Fu Luffy, which is pretty surprising. So Kung Fu Luffy, he is really good still, and if you have him, you can still do some pretty cool stuff with him. So that's the main thing I just wanted to touch on, and he does deserve Tier 2 because like he is clearing as much, if not more content than every other legend in this tier, which is pretty good. Then you got 6+ Akainu. 6+ Akainu just came out on Global. He's pretty good actually. He's really good. I wanted to put him in the same tier as Nami because obviously they are a type captain for one color. I do think that as a captain, Akainu is much, much better, but as a sub, Nami is much better because she has many, many more usable teams, obviously. But you can use Akainu to clear a lot of content, even if the content is not Dex. Like, the only time you wouldn't be using Akainu is if there's quick bosses. Like, legit, that's it. Every other time, Akainu will be able to do some pretty serious damage to those enemies, which is good. Then just some of the other characters we got here. Nothing really much has changed. I mean, you've got this NL, 6+ NL, and, Magellan and Hannibal can actually work with this NL as well. But overall, NL really won't see much play for, the next few months, especially with the latest Colosseums. Like, we've had Colosseum Morlae, and having his health being so high, NL isn't really going to be doing too much to that. You've also got, with the months previous, where we had Dofi and Treble. I mean, NL's not really going to be doing much with that, so it is what it is. NL's usability is definitely going down. You still got Sanji. Sanji actually was able to click Colosseum Morlae, and he's really good, so I don't really see too much problem with keeping him here. He's still really good. Obviously, I don't think he's better than the characters in Tier 1, but he's still very, very good. Judge actually was really good throughout this month as well, both 6-star and 6-star plus, and obviously I say this every single month. The Int one, very good as a captain, and then you got the Psy one, very good as a sub. Dude, that orb boost and 7 turns of bind removal, that's no joke. That's very, very nice to have. V2 Legend Doflamingo, honestly, he's really good. I want to talk more about him when we get to Bartu and Cavendish, because there's been like one minor thing that came out during this month that kind of helps him out. I mean, I wouldn't say it helps him out, but it just kind of like makes the team a little bit more consistent in some fashion, but we'll talk about that when we talk about Bartu and Cavendish. We got Frankie as well, still reasonably good. Obviously, Magellan and Hannibal can work really well with him, and you've also got you've got Robin. I really hope that she gets a 6+. She really deserves a 6+. I know that JP, their next treasure map is going to be Wano Robin, and I was really hoping that they were going to release a 6+ for Robin along with that. It doesn't seem like they're going to do that, or at least not yet. I really hope that she does, you know, get a 6+ because she really deserves it. We've got Strength Katakuri as well. Now, Strength Katakuri is really cool because Shanks and Ben Beckman that came out recently with the treasure map, he actually works really well with Katakuri as well, because you can get his special ability to activate to enable Katakuri to do over 2 million damage in one turn, which will enable you to get the delay, which is great. So that's a really nice strategy that you can adopt with Shanks and Ben Beckman. So it just really works well with V1 Katakuri, that is. So that's really, really nice. We've got Legend Nami as well. No reason why she should go up or down. She's still one of the best subs in the game in terms of applying damage output with a 2x orb boost and a 1.75 color affinity. I was going to use her in one of my Kizuna teams, but with the Kizuna, you know, I want to get to a certain health threshold. They apply an orb boost to your team already. So at that point, I didn't really need to bring her, but still, very, very good legend. Strength Big Mom actually got a couple of different buffs this time around. The fact that, you know, they've got the release of the Leo, the brand new Leo that came out, the one from the Reverie. He has a very good special of removing bind. He removes enemies' blue shield defense, and he just works really well with Big Mom. Just the utility that Leo can provide. You're not going to use him all the time, but he is going to be nice. You know, if he gets 7 turns of bind, boom, you can remove it. If the enemy has the blue shield for 4 turns, you can remove it, and it's really nice with that Big Mom. And also, they did release, technically, you know, the extra Coliseum Kobe. He's not a good unit, but he can be used on a Big Mom team, I guess, but the Coliseum Kobe's not really that good, but we'll talk about that specific piece of content later on. We've got Jinbei as well. Nothing really came out for Jinbei. Yeah, nothing really came out for Jinbei. I mean, technically you can use that new Leo with him as well because he does boost Dex, Strength, and Psi, so you can use him with that. That would definitely work. Shiki and Zephyr, I mean, again, nothing really much changed with these characters. They're still pretty good. I think they're better than the characters in Tier 3, well, as captains anyway, but just... yeah, nothing really much happened with these guys. So that's about it. I mean, the big changes here, as I said, was Kung Fu Luffy moving up and the 6+ Akainu release. I think both these characters are really fun. And then, you know, you got Sanji, who's still doing really, really good. And you got some new characters for Katakuri to play around with, which is nice. But overall, that's pretty much it for Tier 2. So now let's go ahead and move on to Tier 1. And nothing changed here with Tier 1. This is the exact same as last month. I don't really think we needed to change anything. I do like Neko and Inu here now because obviously content is now starting to release. They released around the time of Neko and Inu because for those of you who don't know, on the Japanese side of the game, when they had the treasure map for, you know, Lucci, which is coming up for us, when the Sugo Fest for the treasure map went live, was the debut of Neko and Inu. So this is about the time when Neko and Inu get to shine, and that's great because he's been out for a while now on Global, and many people would have him at this point. So it's nice that people are able to use this character not only for the treasure map that's going to be coming up, but for Kizuna. So that's nice. But just in terms of the other characters, you got Lucci, again, characters like the Leo that came out is really good for him. Then you got Luffy and Ace. Now, Luffy and Ace did get a huge buff this month with all of the new batch that got released, because Sabo and Koala are, I mean, they're a better version than Luffy and Ace because they're just a better version of Luffy and Ace. But then all of the batch characters that got released as well also can be used by Luffy and Ace, which is nice. So you can actually build legit just a full new batch team with, if you don't have Sabo and Koala, just with Luffy and Ace. And that would work pretty well. So that's a pretty nice situation that you could be in here. And also the new Leo that came out is a free spirit unit and also can be used on this team. So that's really nice. So overall, Luffy and Ace are looking pretty good right now. However, I don't think that they're a Tier 0 worthy character. I just feel like what I don't like about Luffy and Ace is their solo captain ability. Specifically Ace. I'm not a big fan of that Ace because yes, he does provide some pretty good damage. 3.5 I think it is. But you need to have a matching orb, which is not always easy, especially because as a captain, they don't provide beneficial orbs. So at that point, you are relying on your ship effect, which I don't think there's any free spirit ships that provide beneficial orbs, or you're relying on sailor abilities. So I'm not a big fan of the Ace. The Luffy is still pretty good. He's only a 3x captain though. He does provide damage reduction, which is pretty good. But that's one of the big downfalls of the character in my opinion, is their solo captain abilities are kind of lacking. Nothing really wrong with their dual captain though. It still does rely on matching slots, but obviously when you're doing your burst turns, you're going to be getting matching orbs anyway, so that's fine. V2 Shanks also does get a little bit of a buff this month as well, with the release obviously of Sabo and Koala once again. This character I am actually using in my Kizuna team, in the Dex variation I believe it is. He's really good because, I mean, yes, he does provide a type boost, and if you are using Sabo and Koala, you would rather get their type boost compared to Shanks, but The thing about Shanks that's really good is he can provide you a full board of orbs, as well as applying a combo boost. That combo boost is really, really big. I think it's a 0.9 combo boost, so that is huge. That adds a lot of damage to your team, and that's part of the reason why I'm using him, is just because of the fact that he can provide that huge combo boost, and he's just so good, right? And again, like, you could actually run a Sabo and Koala friend captain with a V2 Shanks captain, and if you're running like a full int team, or if you run like a full strength team, like, that will actually work pretty well for clearing content. So that's a pretty good option as well. V2 Corazon and the Admirals, yeah, they're still pretty solid. I mean, the new Leah that came out can support this this Akainu pretty well, so that's an option as well. Technically, you could use Shanks and Ben Beckman on this V2 Akainu team as well. That would actually be pretty good. Yeah, that would be pretty good. V2 Sanji, nothing really came out for him this month, unfortunately, but he's still a really good unit. Capone, I just love his Big Father effect. Again, nothing really came out for him this month, unfortunately, but still a very, very solid unit overall. Then you got Koala, I was going to say Koala. Carrot. Carrot did get a release this month in terms of units that help her out, and that would be Magellan and Hannibal. The really cool thing about Magellan and Hannibal is that when Magellan is out and when they are the dual form, they're striker and shooter. So Carrot gets the full boost for them. When it's Hannibal out, I believe it's striker driven, so they'll only get half boosted when it's Hannibal. But when it's Magellan or the dual form, then Carrot's going to be able to boost them, and that's great because they shuffle all orbs into either quick or int, I believe it is. And with the matching orb rate that Carrot provides, she's more likely than not going to be getting a matching slot. And even if you don't get matching slots, you could use the special ability of Carrot to make quick orbs beneficial for your team, or you could use the Wanda support to shuffle those orbs around and potentially get better orbs. So that's really nice. You can get a 2x color affinity boost with Magellan and Hannibal. Works really well with Carrot here, even though there were already a couple of other color affinity boosters that already worked really well. I mean, you could use potentially someone like, I mean, Nami would work, but again, she only boosts like Free Spirit, Cerebral, Driven, and Powerhouse. You could use another one like the Opera. The Cyber Recruit Opera is probably a better choice, but Magellan and Hannibal is a nice free-to-play option, which is quite nice. Then we had Cracker. Cracker, nothing really came out for him this month, unfortunately, but still one of the best subs in the game. Actually quite funny, with my Neko and Inu team that I'm using for the current Kizuna, it's kind of weird because I'm actually using Cracker on that team just because of orb manipulation, color affinity, combo boost. Again, it just goes to show how good Cracker is. he's probably the best sub in the game in terms of damage, and yo, just wait till we get Douglas Bullet. Wait till we get Douglas Bullet. This guy is legitimately the best sub in the game for Douglas Bullet. No joke. This guy's crazy. Dex Sabo, not really much came out for him either, unfortunately. I mean, technically the new Leo can work with this Sabo as well because he is Free Spirit, and Sabo does boost Free Spirit, so that is an option. But outside of that, unfortunately, Sabo didn't really get much. And then we got the two slashes. Yeah, this was not a good month for slashes because we had Magellan and Hannibal, who was nothing. No, he's not a slasher, of course. Shanks and Ben Beckman technically is a slasher when it's Shanks out. I don't know if it's a slasher when it's turned into the dual form. I think it might be Cerebral Striker when it's in their dual form. So unfortunately, that won't work there. But the slashers are still pretty solid. It's just the fact that if you are going to be running a slasher team, probably a better option just to run Luffy and Law, if you have them, of course. Luffy and Law are just a better version of these guys in terms of a slasher captain. I mean, though, you still can't deny, like, V2 Mihawk as a captain is crazy. The damage he can get is bonkers. Because the thing about it is, you don't have to activate his special for him to do crazy damage. You can get well over 2 to 3 million damage with normal attacks, especially if you're attacking the right color and if you have a couple of matching orbs. Like, that's no joke. Like, 2 to 3 million with just normal taps is crazy. I'm not a big fan of this guy's captain ability. I've said this in previous lists and just previous videos. I'm not a big fan of V2 Zoro, but he's special. Whew, he's special, so good. One of the best specials in the game, specifically for slashes. One of the best specials, man. So good. Then we got Neko and Inu. We've already talked about them. They're really good this month, and they're going to be good for probably the next 1 to 2 months. They're going to be pretty solid. And then after that, they're probably going to be delegated to a sub, especially for Sabo and Koala. They'll see a lot of play there as well. And if there's any other striker units, well, such as Quick Whitebeard, Neko and Inu will be pretty good for them as well. Well, Quick Whitebeard specifically, I mean, technically the new Leo that came out, I believe he was Free Spirit Striker, so again, you got another utility unit for the V2 Whitebeard, which is great, or V3 Whitebeard technically, Quickbeard. You also have Magellan and Hannibal technically as well, providing a color affinity boost. What else do you have? Technically Shanks and Ben Beckman, because I think Ben Beckman is a striker, and when they combine, I think they're a striker as well. So that's not a terrible option either, providing color affinity and a chain boost, or a chain lock, that is. And then you got V2 Big Mom. V2 Big Mom, nothing really happened this month with her. She's still a really good sub though. She's actually really good for the Kizuna mode that's out right now because of the dex variation on, I think level 30. When you reach that, the dex variation will paralyze your bottom row. So you can use her switch ability to just remove paralysis on herself, and she provides the 3.5 chain lock, and she provides the attack boost to your crew. So that's really nice as well. So V2 Big Mom not going anywhere anytime soon. I think she's going to be staying in tier 1 for a very long time. But now we move on to the final tier, which is tier 0. So obviously there's no changes here aside from the addition of Sabo and Koala. So I don't want to talk about Snake Man first. I want to talk about, I guess we could talk about Sabo and Koala first. Now, I said this before, I do think they're probably up there. I don't know if they're the best legend in the game. I still think Luffy and Law is probably the best, but you can't deny Snake Man is still really good. But Sabo and Koala are really strong for their 2 specific classes of Free Spirit and Cerebral, and obviously because this is their month of their release, everything like previously, like pretty much just before this release and also after their release, everything surrounding them is about boosting Sabo and Koala. So Shanks and Ben Beckman are honestly phenomenal with this character, especially in tandem with V2 Ray Dofi. It is ridiculous. Also, you had the new Leah that came out, again adding extra utility on top of that, and just like even Luffy and Law that released previous to this can also be used on a Sabo and Koala team. So good, my guy. This is so good. So Sabo and Koala, they're going to be good for the next few months, and probably even past that as well. They're going to be really good. The fact that they boost HP, they boost recovery, they have a very nice multiplier, they are their crew's own type booster, and they have an added effect of removing beneficial and non-beneficial orb enabling buffs, which is powerful. Really powerful considering how common nowadays we see negative orb enable buffs. Having an ability to just remove it and change those orbs into positive is great. So Sabo and Koala, I do think deserve tier 0 at this point. Luffy and Law, no changes here. I mean, everything that gets released, they can use. It's kind of crazy, right? So Sabo and Koala, along with Luffy and Law, I think those 2 are the best legends in the game. And if they're not the 2 best legends in the game, then it has to be Snake Man, at least at number 3. I mean, I think Snake Man still to this day is like, he's going to help you clear everything. He is ridiculous. The fact that you can partner up with some of these best Powerhouse characters, we've already talked about that in previous tier lists as well. The fact that Powerhouse are probably the best class in the game overall right now. Sabo and Koala trying to rival that with their Cerebral class, but I think Powerhouse still hold the candle because you've got this guy for a 2x orb and attack boost. You have this guy for that crazy end of turn, or not end of turn damage, but the tap timing bonus damage, as well as the damage you get from activating the special. If you guys have been watching my Garp challenge video, like this guy just carries through all the Garp challenges. It is ridiculous. Whitebeard and Marco, like again, everything that gets released, they can utilize because they are a Rainbow Captain. The only thing about the Whitebeard and Marco that I'm not a big fan of is their special ability like really doesn't help your team all that much. Yes, it can provide healing, and health cut is kind of nice, but number 1, they don't get rid of block orbs with their special. Number 2, the health cut doesn't go through barriers or defensive effects. The fact that you need to rely on other characters on your team to provide the big boosts is kind of annoying, but, you know, saying that, if you have characters like this, characters like this, characters like this, I mean, characters like this even, you can get some crazy stuff happening here with Whitebeard and Marco, and that's one of the great things about them specifically. I mean, even Snake Man as well, like, if you want to look at that as well, like, this Strength Akainu that came out, these Super Evolution, 6+ Akainu, Snake Man really helps with that as well. I mean, if you specifically want to be running a strength team, you can run Akainu on the team now, so that's a really nice option as well. Dude, like, Snake Man is so good. I'm still a huge advocate for Snake Man. I think he's one of the best legends in the game still, and I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But I still think that these 2, Luffy, Law, and Sabo and Koala, are the best. Now, Bartu and Cavendish. Now, this again is just very minor, but I wanted to talk about it anyway. So, with the extra Coliseum Kobe that came out, everyone would pretty much agree to this point that the extra Coliseum Kobe, he's not very good. He's not very good, and the fact that they release him and he's pretty difficult, I will admit. He was kind of tricky, especially on first playthrough, trying to understand how the gimmicks worked and stuff, even though it was a global first release, but still, I just think it was unnecessarily difficult. I even put that, I think that was my title of the video, unnecessarily difficult, extra Coliseum Kobe. But something that does come out of that is the additional unit with Kobe, which was the Helmeppo. So for those of you who don't know, the Helmeppo that came with that Kobe, he attaches to a Kobe unit for a support effect, and he states that when that unit activates a special that locks your orbs, he will change block orbs into matching, and he gets rid of your enemy's end of turn damage. I think it's either completely or by a couple of turns. So yes, that does attach to extra Coliseum Kirby, but there's a better way to use the character. Limited Rare Recruit Kirby, who is a 3-turn 1.75 type boost for Driven. He also locks orbs, so you can attach the Helmeppo to that Kirby. You can swap your block orbs into matching, as well as getting a type boost for 3 turns with Coliseum with the not extra Coliseum Kirby, but limited Rare Recruit Kirby, which works very well with Barto and Cavendish, as well as V2 Dofi. So I wanted to bring it back here that V2 Ray Dofi technically did get a miniature buff with the release of the special Helmeppo that came out that can attach to limited Rare Recruit Kirby, because remember, support abilities do not trigger enemy special interrupts. So if there is an interrupt where an enemy gives you a full board of block orbs, you can activate your Kirby special, change the block orbs into matching with the Helmeppo effect, lock those orbs, and 3 turns of a 1.75 type boost. That's going to make Driven teams a lot better. So that's really nice. Obviously, that's a very niche circumstance, but in that circumstance, that's crazy. That is really powerful to have. So, you know, shout out to the Helmeppo that came out that supports the extra Coliseum Kirby, but technically is going to be used for limited Rare Recruit Kirby. So shout out to that. But other than that, that's pretty much it for this month's tier list. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Obviously, we'll be back, you know, with the new year. It's going to be interesting to see what releases throughout this month. If I had to make an assumption at this point, it's probably going to be the summer batch. Not really the summer batch, but the waifu batch, the Reverie from Shirahoshi Man, Sherry, and Vivi and Rebecca. Also releases a couple of other rare recruits along the way. That's what I'm expecting throughout the month of December. If there's any changes in that, I'll be pretty excited for that, but we'll have to wait and see. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this month's tier list video. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, I'll see you guys within the next video.